Hey everyone, it's time to spark another conversation in the Triple Finale Career Lounge, where we blend real conversations with smart tech to help you find that career that you're excited to pursue.
So let me ask you something. When you apply for a job, do you actually know how strong your resume is compared to the other people who are applying? Or are you just kind of hoping that it works? Because most job seekers are just guessing. They apply, they wait, and then they wonder why they never hear anything back. But here's what most people don't realize. According to LinkedIn hiring data, many job postings can receive hundreds of applications, and some remote roles even receive far more than that, like well into the thousands, which means your resume isn't being reviewed in isolation, it's being compared. And once you understand that, your perspective starts to change. The question stops being, is my resume good? And it becomes, is my resume competitive? Those are two very different questions because a resume can be, good and still not be competitive. The candidate who consistently gets interviews usually isn't just applying and hoping. They're measuring how close they are to what the employers are actually seeking, and then they make the necessary adjustments. The good news is, today there are tools that can actually help you assess where you might rank against the competition before you ever apply to the job. It gives you a little bit of a sneak peek. So let's discuss how to measure your resume, how to compare it to the role that you want, and then how to make these tiny tweaks that can have a really big impact on the outcome of your chances for getting the interview that you're seeking from that company.
With quick apply options, applying is easier than it's ever been. People can apply from their phone with one click and submit their resumes to 20 or more roles in one single evening. Your resume ends up being compared against a large pool of other applicants. The hiring process today is often about alignment and positioning. Employers are trying to find the closest match to what they need. So technology helps them narrow that down before a recruiter ever starts reviewing candidates closely. Now, this is exactly why optimization matters. And this is also why platforms like LinkedIn and some resume optimization tools like jobscan.co emphasize tailoring your resume instead of mass applying with the same version of your resume. When you start measuring how well your resume aligns with the role, you stop guessing and you start positioning yourself more strategically.
Okay, now that we understand that your resume is being compared, the next logical question becomes, how do you actually measure that? Because if you can measure something, you can improve it. Well, platforms like jobscan.co, for example, allow you to compare your resume against a specific job description, and then it shows you how closely your resume aligns with what the employer is seeking. They'll often give you what's called a match rate. Basically, this is a percentage showing how closely your resume matches the role that you're interested in based on skills, keywords, and experience alignment. Notice how we mentioned skills first. We'll touch on that in just a minute. Instead of guessing, you can actually see where you stand, potentially. So let's be clear. Jobscan.co doesn't forecast who else is going to apply to the same position, so it can't rank you, but it can provide a measurement of how well you fit the job description. All right, so this doesn't mean that, you keep going until you get a perfect score. So there isn't some magic number where all of a sudden you win and it's guaranteed that you're going to get an interview. But what these tools are designed to do is to help you identify gaps that you might not have noticed in how you structured your resume based on the job description that's out there. Kind of the rule of thumb that we shoot for at Triple Finale Careers is to try to get that score to be somewhere between, above the 75 percentile. So we try to shoot for like 75 to 85% match. And anything, above 75 is considered doing a really good job for matching. And let me give you a for instance. Maybe the job description says project coordination and your resume says project support. Or maybe the role emphasizes stakeholder communication, and your resume says cross-functional collaboration. Well, to a human, those terms may or may not sound similar. You're kind of gambling as to whether or not someone is going to catch the similarity. And they might be able to see the connection or not. But an applicant tracking system comparing alignment is going to catch where there's a similarity. The wording matters. Terms that are more closely aligned with the exact verbiage on a job description tend to hold more value than their synonyms. And when you use these tools, you shift away from applying and hoping to measuring and improving.
So what tools can actually help you do this? We already mentioned jobscan.co, which is one of the more well-known platforms for comparing your resume against job descriptions and then helping you see alignment gaps. It's a great way to get a measurable starting point so you're not applying blindly. Another platform that many job seekers are starting to use is TealHQ. That's TealHQ. Teal is interesting because it not only helps with resume alignment, but it also includes a job tracker and organization tools so you can manage your applications more strategically. And honestly, organization alone can make a big difference when you're applying to multiple roles, especially if you're on unemployment and you have to keep track of this activity. This is when TealHQ's job search tracker can really come in handy. Other notable platforms in this space include tools like Resume Worded, SkillSyncer, Rezi, that's R-E-Z-I, and VMock. These resume audit platforms focus on optimization and alignment. They exist because today's hiring process is measurable. And again, once you start measuring, you can start improving. Now, this is something LinkedIn even encourages indirectly through their own platform. When you look at job postings on LinkedIn, you'll often see skills, required experience, and sometimes even a comparison of applicants, depending on which LinkedIn subscription you have. All of this reinforces the same idea. Alignment matters. So whether you use jobscan.co, TealHQ, or another platform, the goal is the same. Understand how closely your resume aligns with what the employers are seeking. Okay, let's talk about keywords for a minute, because this is an area where there's a lot of outdated advice floating around. So you may have heard of things like just add more keywords or stuff your resume with keywords. Well, that might have worked many, many years ago, but modern AT systems and AI-based hiring tools are much more sophisticated now. Today, that type of action could actually backfire and cause your resume to rank lower than if you had just woven in your keywords naturally and strategically, which is what you're supposed to do. The goal is to be intentional about how you utilize the keywords and wise about mirroring those keywords that you find in the job description onto your resume exactly as they're listed in the job description. Recruiters are usually searching for candidates using keywords. They're filtering based on skills and experience categories, certifications, and job titles that match what the hiring manager is seeking. You want to describe your experience in a way that can be recognized by these automated systems and by the recruiter. Okay, so think about this. The utilization of keywords isn't about tricking technology. It's all about clarity. You want to use your keywords to help the system understand you and then help the recruiter find you.
One thing I've personally watched change over the years from a recruiter side is how candidates get found in the first place. Years ago, we used to run searches based solely on like the job title first, and then you layer in keywords, and then you look at experience. But today, especially with AI-assisted search tools and platforms like LinkedIn, the process has really evolved. Recruiters still look at job titles, but now skills are often just as important, sometimes even more important than the job title, because skills show what you can actually do, not just what someone called you in your role. Today's searches often combine skills, job titles, keywords, experience levels, certifications, and then these really advanced tools and technologies. And this is why it's so important, especially for students, graduates, and other job seekers, to clearly include their skill set in their resume by weaving it in naturally into that experience section. Some exceptions to this rule might be if you have a long list of skills that you need to highlight depending on your industry, like the tech industry, for instance. In this case, you might want a separate skills section. And don't worry, if your job title doesn't perfectly match yet, your skills might. So if you're ever unsure what skills to list, here's a simple place to start. In many cases, the skills that employers are looking for are literally listed right inside of the job description. The required skills section, tools listed, and even repeated phrases are often the keywords that the recruiters and the hiring managers are seeking. So if someone, for example, were applying for a candle maker role, the job description might say things like wax pouring, fragrance blending, quality control, packaging, or small batch production. Those aren't just tasks, those are searchable skills. And if your resume just says made candles, you might get overlooked because you're leaving a lot out. But if you list skills like wax formulation, scent blending, product packaging, and inventory handling, well, now both the system and the recruiter can see very clearly what you bring to the table. Those skills start to paint the picture and bring your experience to life right before the recruiter's eyes. The recruiter should literally be able to picture what you're capable of doing through your detailed experience description based on your skill set.
When you step back and look at everything we covered in this video series, you can really start to see the bigger picture take shape. Your resume has to be readable, your resume has to be organized, and your resume has to be competitive. The strongest candidates today aren't just hoping that they got it right. They're using strategies and tools to measure where they stand and improve their positioning before they ever apply. This is exactly the kind of work we do with our clients at Triple Finale Careers. Inside our career marketing and branding process, we don't just help people write resumes. We help them understand how hiring actually works, how to position themselves strategically, and how to compete more effectively in today's AI-assisted job market. In a competitive market, preparation is power. If you'd like help learning how to apply these strategies step by step, we invite you to join one of our online group peer pods, where we walk through this process together in a supportive environment with other professionals who are all working towards the exact same goal. Remember, you don't have to figure this out alone. Visit us today at www.triplefinale.com. That's www.triplefinale.com. We're ready when you are.